Hi, let's walk you through SketchUp. So, SketchUp's great. I love SketchUp. So, right now, I went to SketchUp.com. I made an account. I linked it to my, in our case, Iron School's account, or my Iron Mail, same difference. And then I just come in and I open up my profile, log in, and I just click on my apps. And it lets me work online. I don't actually have to download anything for this. Now, if I want to, I can, but I don't have to. So I'm just going to go in here that says launch SketchUp for web. Okay, and I'm just going to launch it. And I can pull this up right here, and it's going to take just a moment to load. But what it allows me to do is pretty much anything I want. I'm going to make some just generic stuff right here. So if I go create, and I get to choose what kind of units I'm working in. I usually work in feet and inches because, I'm American. So I pull this up now. This is Helen. I don't know why they named her Helen, but that's what they call her. There's always a figure here, and they name them different ones. But this one's Helen this year. It used to be George, and I think there was a John a while back, but whatever. That's to give you an idea of scale. So as you're looking at your model here, you can get an idea of scale. Now, there is no X, Y, or Z axis as you know it. They just label them different. They're the same axes. So your x-axis becomes your red line, your red axis. Your y-axis becomes your green line, and your z-axis becomes your blue line. Now, when you're drawing in SketchUp, all you're really doing is drawing a shape, like say a box, and I'm going to get it so it lines up with that green axis. Now, it does do perspective, so don't freak out when your line doesn't look like it's going parallel to that one. It actually is. But see, it's going back to a vanishing point back there somewhere, okay? So let's make this box, say, like 2 feet, so 24 inches, by, like, say, 3 feet, so 36 inches. And then I start to come back forward. Now, notice I was going on my blue axis right there. It was going downward or upward. It looks like downward from what I'm seeing here. So I'm going to get that back on the green. I'm going to hold my Shift key down, and I'm going to bring my cursor over here so it lines up with that endpoint. So I've constrained it so it's on that green axis, and it lines up. Oop, didn't like that. Let's try that again. There it goes. Now, if I bring it back to this endpoint, see, it'll let me snap to endpoints, and it creates a box. Now, whenever I create a closed shape, it fills the closed shape. I can literally remove that inside of it, okay? But if I do that, I'm going to Control Z to undo it. What I did is I clicked on the surface and I hit my delete button on my keyboard. But if I remove it, I can't do this. I cannot make a 3D piece out of it at that point. It becomes a wire object. Now I can create a 3D piece by just simply stretching this up. Now I'm just going to make a box. Comes up, say, like 8 feet, so that's 96 inches. So I just type in 96 and hit enter. And there's a box. It's 2 foot by 3 foot by 8 foot tall. So, we can put things inside of the box. Well, how do I put stuff inside? Well, first I have to open the box. So I've got 2 ways to do that. I'm going to go right here and I'm going to use a new tool. So these are all your tools over here. So if I click on this little arrow, I've got different tools hiding under these. So as I work my way down, I can see what I've got here to work with. Well, I usually work with push-pull. I use a little bit of the follow me, but quite often I play with the offset. Now watch what happens when I use offset. I click on that, I bring it in 1, that's 1 inch. Okay, and then I take and pull this back out and get my push-pull tool back out. Now this is 2 feet deep. So what happens if I push this back this way? 23 inches. I just made a box, and I'm just pushing my mouse wheel down and rotating. Just dragging, just push your mouse wheel down and drag, and I've created a box to put something in. Okay, now because I've done that, I can actually do a couple other things here. Well, say I don't want this to be 8 feet anymore. I want this to be about, say, 2 feet shorter. So I just pull that down, type in 24, bring it down. I can come up here to the top of it, pull this down, type in 24, and it brings it down too. So now I've made a 2 foot by 3 foot by 6 foot box that I can put something in. Now, how does that happen? Well, let's go like this. One thing, when I go to move stuff, if I'm not careful, I can click on that and go to move it, like click, grab my move tool, grab it, and start moving. Look what's happening. It's stretching. It's not actually moving. It's moving that one piece, but it's maintaining its constraints, those other connections. So if I want to have this thing as one piece so I can move it, I have to do a couple things. Like if I go like this and I make a box. Now this is a crossing option. Notice how it's dotted. If I drag the other way, it becomes a solid. Here's what happens. If I do the enclose or the window option, it's a solid line. What happens is when I let go of that, only the things that are completely within that box I made are selected. If I do it the other way, where I use a crossing option, so I click and drag and I'm holding my mouse, my left mouse button down. Anything that touches will be selected this time. Okay, doesn't have to completely enclose it. So I'm just going to actually completely enclose my box here though, and right click. I got some options when I right click. I can select things. I can get the area of stuff. I can do components. I like to make groups of things, mostly because that way when I want to move stuff like this, it moves the whole thing. Okay, so let's say we're going to have, like we're building a stage or prop for our magic show, and I'm using SketchUp to lay out my secret passage or my, vanishing girl box or whatever. Oh, we got Helen. We'll use that one. So I can literally take this. I could actually take Helen if I want to, and I can put her inside the box. Okay, we'll move her in the box a little bit. Okay, I'm going to move her up just about, say, a ½ inch, 0.5. Now she's on the box. And I'm going to move her back to the box forward. Get on that Z, yeah, there. That way she's sitting right smack in the box. So now, no matter where I go, she's in the box. Okay, I can then use it as a tool to lay out my vanishing cabinet. So if I want to do my vanishing cabinet, I have to figure out how to put a hidden door in the back. Well, let's do that. So if I'm doing that, I literally will double click on this. It opens it up and lets me edit the group without editing everything else. So I can literally go like this and go, let's use the offset tool again, just because I feel awkward not using the offset tool. So I'm bringing that in. This time I'm going to go in 2 inches all the way around. And watch what happens when I use the push-pull this time. I'm going to push-pull that and in. So see how it goes? And now, there's what I was looking for, right there. On face. So I've pushed it in until it meets the face at the other side. When I go click, I've just made a hole in the back of my box. Okay, close the group. So now my vanishing box has a hole on either side. So if I want to now, I can make a new piece that fits right in there. So if I go like this and do a 22 inch by 1 inch by 22 inch slab right here, and I need to stretch him up, so I'm going to push pull him from here straight up that way. Well, let's see. What's 6 feet minus 4? I get 56 inches. How about you not? It's 56 inches. Good grief. I get 4 inches short of 6 feet. Okay, which is what? 68 inches. So now I've got that slab right there. And if I'm not perfect, I'll show you how to edit in a minute. But I'm still going to make that a separate group. You'll understand why shortly. So now I can grab him and place him from this corner so he matches up with that corner. Oh wait, he was a 3-foot box, not a 2-foot box, wasn't he? Oh darn. How do I fix that? Same way I did before. Double click on the group. Grab this, drag it over till it matches that edge. There we go. I now have generated parts of my box for my prop design or whatever I'm doing today. Now, as you're doing this, this is really easy. When you go to save, you can just hit the save button right here. It's untitled. You can save it in the cloud. Don't get too complicated when saving the stuff in the cloud. Take it to SketchUp. I have 2 folders here. I'm going to call this one okay. I'll just go into this folder. And I'm just going to call it Magic Box. Okay. So that's it. It's saving it in the cloud. It takes just a few minutes. Now, unlike like Google Docs and some of those things, it doesn't auto-save for you as you go. So you do have to make sure you come up every so often and hit the save button. But as you're working, I'm just going to go back here to my home. I can go open, and I can go pick one of my files, like SketchUp. I can go in here to, like, say, my architecture folder, and I can say I want to pull up, like, here's my lab that I was mocking up, and I'm only partially done with it. So I can put all my tools in there. I can lay out my lab. I can show what's going on. I can use SketchUp for all kinds of things. So like in my lab, I've got several 3D printers. I've got one there. There's actually 2 of that variety. I've got these 2 here. I've got the cart with the oscilloscopes in it. I've got my band saws, my drill presses, my sanding station, my shop vac over here. I've got my computer lab on this side with the plotter. Got to place the plotter, the laser engraver. The robotic stuff goes over here. I've just got to build it all just like it normal. I just use the push-pull tool, and that's what I do. Now, if I want doors, I can literally go in and draw the door. But you can pretty much model anything in Sketch if you want. And now I'm going to show you this, and I'm going to delete it right out of my plan right afterwards, because if you want to get really crazy, and you can go in here, and I got to find it because still not used to it. If I go in here, components, there it is. So if you go into components, they have a 3D warehouse where everybody can share their work, and it's really a nice collaborative space. But if I go in here and I go under this and I say I want to put an X-wing, enter. I can put an X-wing in my building. I can put a freaking Death Star in my building. And depending on who modeled it, some of them get really ornate. Like this one's got a whole bunch of skins and stuff attached to it, so it looks much more realistic. Okay. At least looks much more realistic, you know. So I can drop that in. If I don't like the one I brought in, I can delete it. It's no big deal. Let's actually get my arrow tool. Can nuke him right out, but I can come over here and get this instead. Yep, continue anyway. And I can put one in. Now this has got more detail in it, but it's not as realistic looking. Okay, but you can drop whatever you want in there. Pick anything you want. You can drop it in if somebody else has made it, and you can work from that. So, hey, thanks for your time, and I hope you enjoy. I'd jump into SketchUp and start playing around and enjoy what you can do with it.